Win, a 19-year-old girl, is trapped in a loveless marriage with a 30-year-old man who despises her. As she struggles with the challenges of pregnancy, her husband's indifference drives her deeper into despair. But when he receives alarming news about her health, everything changes. Faced with the possibility of losing their child, he must confront his feelings and the reality of their situation. The phone call came like a lightning bolt, cutting through the haze of indifference that surrounded him. He stood in his lavish office, the skyline of the city sprawling beneath him, but the view did nothing to alleviate the restless anxiety gnawing at his insides. The doctor's voice echoed in his mind, urgent and grave. "Your wife's condition has worsened. You need to get to the hospital immediately." He didn't love his wife, but the thought of losing the baby, a part of him, sent chills down his spine. It was a responsibility he had never wanted, but now it felt heavy, almost suffocating. His heart raced as he navigated the sterile halls of the hospital, each step feeling heavier than the last. He approached the reception, breathless. "Maternity ward. Where is it?" After receiving directions, he sprinted towards the ward, guilt and fear intertwining in his mind. Memories of In's laughter, the carefree girl he had once loved, flickered through his thoughts, but they were overshadowed by resentment. Upon reaching the doctor, he barely allowed the man to finish his explanation before he interrupted. "What's wrong with her?" "Your wife is severely anemic and suffering from depression," the doctor replied, his tone steady yet serious. "If she's not properly cared for, it could jeopardize her health and the baby's." The weight of the words crashed over him like a tidal wave, a sickening guilt spiraling within him. His arrogance, his cruelty, it all felt so insignificant now. How could he have let it come to this? As he wandered through the maternity ward, the sight of other couples filled him with an unsettling mix of envy and regret. He watched husbands holding their wives' hands, whispering words of encouragement, and felt a painful pang in his heart. He should have been that man for In. He finally found her room and paused at the door, taking a deep breath to steady himself. When he stepped inside, his heart sank. In lay unconscious on the bed, her face pale and drawn. Seeing her like this, so fragile, sent a jolt of realization through him. She had become a shadow of the girl he once knew. The cute, chubby girl he had once admired had vanished, replaced by a gaunt figure marked by her struggles. He noticed the stark contrast, her collarbone jutting out and her cheeks hollowed. "In," he whispered, stepping closer. He brushed a stray hair from her forehead, a flicker of tenderness emerging despite the hate he felt. "Please wake up. I need to talk to you." Minutes stretched into hours, but eventually her eyelids fluttered and she blinked against the harsh hospital light. "What?" she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "Don't try to speak," he said, surprised at the concern in his voice. "Just rest." Her gaze flickered to him, confusion clouding her eyes. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "You don't care about me." The bitterness in her words stung, but he had no defense. Just go," she interrupted, tears pooling in her eyes. "You don't have to pretend." "I'm not pretending, Yin," he said, his voice firmer now. "I was wrong. I never should have treated you the way I did. I'm here because I'm scared. I don't want to lose you or the baby." The words hung heavy in the air. Yin stared at him, disbelief etched on her face. "You think I can just believe you now, after everything?" "I know I don't deserve your trust," he admitted, guilt washing over him. "But I want to change. I want to be there for you, for both of you." Her expression softened, but skepticism lingered in her eyes. "You've made it clear how you feel about me." "I was wrong," he repeated, his voice breaking slightly. "I was an idiot. But seeing you like this, it hurts more than I ever imagined. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I want to try. For you and our child." Days passed, and with each visit he fought against the bitter tide of his past actions. He learned about her anemia, researched ways to support her, and even hired a nutritionist to ensure she received the best care. In slowly began to heal, both physically and emotionally. As they spent time together, he listened to her dreams, her fears, and the little things that made her happy. Their conversations became longer, filled with shared laughter and moments of vulnerability. But even as he tried to change, the shadow of his past actions loomed over them. "Can you truly forgive me?" he asked one day, sitting beside her hospital bed. "I don't know," she replied honestly, her gaze steady. "It's going to take time. Trust isn't built overnight." "I'm willing to wait," he promised. "I'll be here every step of the way." As Ian was finally discharged, he took her home, where they faced the reality of their situation. Life was still complicated, but there was a glimmer of hope in their eyes. "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm grateful for this baby," he confessed one evening, watching her prepare the nursery. "I think it's changing me for the better." Ian paused, looking at him with surprise. "You really mean that?" "Yes. It's made me realize what's truly important. I want to be a better husband and father." A tentative smile spread across her face. "It'll take time, but I think we can do this together." As the months passed, they navigated the ups and downs of pregnancy together. He found himself drawn closer to her, witnessing her strength and resilience. In began to bloom again, her laughter returning, and for the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of joy. "I can't believe we're going to be parents," she said one day, her eyes sparkling. "It's terrifying but exciting." He took her hand, squeezing it gently. "I want to be there for you, for our child. I'm not going to let my past define our future." Just as they began to find their rhythm, an unexpected complication arose during her pregnancy. Wynn experienced a health scare that sent them both spiraling into fear once again. He rushed her back to the hospital, his heart pounding with panic. "Please, just hold on," he pleaded, waiting anxiously as the doctors worked. When they finally emerged, the relief in their eyes was palpable. "She's stable, but we need to monitor her closely," the doctor explained. In that moment of vulnerability, he realized how much Ian meant to him. He couldn't bear the thought of losing her again. After the scare, their bond solidified. They talked openly about their fears and hopes, laying the foundation for a new relationship built on trust and understanding. One evening, as they sat together, he took a deep breath. "I want to promise you something, Yin. No matter what happens, I will always be here for you and our baby. You won't have to face anything alone again." Tears glimmered in her eyes as she nodded. "I believe you." And as they leaned into each other, surrounded by the hope of a new beginning, he realized that love was not just about passion. It was also about commitment, growth, and the willingness to change for the better. As the day of the baby's arrival approached, they found themselves filled with anticipation and joy. When In finally gave birth, the overwhelming emotions washed over him. Holding their newborn for the first time, he looked at In, who was exhausted yet radiant. "We did it," he whispered, pride swelling in his chest. "Yes, we did," she replied, her smile lighting up the room. In that moment, he knew he had found a new purpose in life, not just as a husband and father, but as a man willing to fight for the love that had once seemed impossible. Together, they would build a family, and perhaps one day they would find a way to truly love each other.